to go. It's all over, Red Rover. And Tino, 4-5 in front. It is the most brilliant of Queensland victories of the Carnival. And that's a good one for you, Tony. That's a big one. And Tino won the Newman Cup.
Welcome to Bet Dr. Brisvegas. I'm your host, Scoot, and I'm joined with John Walter. It's chilly up here. There's a lot of rain on the way, and Walt's here in shorts and T-shirt saying, what cold?
What cold? What are you talking about? It's not even remotely cold.
Mate, you'd be pretty happy this week.
Well, you've thrown me off. He's never heard of Israel Adesanya. Can anyone in the comments tell me they haven't heard of Israel Adesanya ever?
Mate, I'm a boxing man. I follow boxing, not UFC.
Is it because he's dark-skinned? Are you a racist or something? Are you saying you don't know him because of that?
Boxing's my go over UFC. The UFC's a little bit too barbaric.
You've lost your mind.
Bit of a purist, Scooty.
I'm he's like a 4 or 5 time world champion. You've lost him.
No, KWT, he's been boxing Noel Callow in the jockeys room yesterday, GK. How's that for big news? And welcome back to the show.
Yeah, it's good to be back. Look, that is very interesting news. I'm not sure what I really want to say about this. KWT, I guess he does have a little bit of a history of being a bit punchy, but yeah, look, interesting. We'll see what sort of comes out of that and how long he ends up on the sidelines.
Maybe KWT didn't tip Callow on the Uber drive on the way in or something, and that's how it sprouted.
Who knows? Well, I'm sure we'll get the mail. Old Tommy Turbo Henjack's probably got the inside run with a bit of the jockey mail, I would have thought, but they might start a bit of a fight. I think Jag Guthman-Chester's a bit of a boxer. He bashed one of Jai Williams last time at the Upataya fight in one of the undercards, so maybe KWT could step into the ring and get the title off Jag.
Maybe a little
Jag,
like Royal Rumble. Maybe just get him in there first and one in every 3 minutes.
It's a bit of a Royal Rumble last week. Antino knocking off Pride of Jenny. We also tipped, Philly was pretty highly fancied. Miss Kimcar was a good end to the day.
Yeah.
Down the outside.
I love the old change of tactics. It jumps in front. Change of tactics in more 4, jumps in front, jags it out 73 off the lead like it had 20 lengths on them.
Yeah.
But, yeah, it's a good result. Antino, isn't it a
beast?
Isn't it a weird horse? Isn't it a weird horse when it's in the mood?
It's just crazy, isn't it? The old mid-race move. Don't see many like it, do you, GK, with those sort of antics and tactics, but certainly working for him.
Yeah, it's just like very unconventional, I think, what we're used to here. And, I think that sort of has caught some people off guard. Like I've said a few times that I think that probably hadn't received the respect. It probably was warranted up to that point. Post-race, up Saturday, everyone was, saying that it's, fantastic and blah, 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 blah. But I think, there'd been others who'd sort of tried to poke holes in its form, like they said about the Hollandale, that, it was a wet track, blah, 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 the Turak, that was all shin. But, I think it's, we've now seen 3 really super dominant runs now, which just establish it as, one of the top 2 or 3 weight for age horses, sort of mile to 2,000 metres in the country.
Yeah, and I think there's a new import on Kieran Maher's radar that...
one, he's got 400.
No, he's got another one. I think they announced
the one that they bought for the Queen Anne or something?
Yeah. So he'll have one race over in the UK, and then he's going to be set for the Cox Plate. Can't remember his name. It escapes me at the moment. But
well, our other top weight for age horses are 8-year-old mares, so you'd want to get something in there new, wouldn't you?
Oh, and I think Pride of Jenny. I think surely 2,000 metres now bridge too far. She's definitely not looking for that in a twilight year. She was absolutely shot at the 400, but Christ, she's tough. I thought War Machine was pretty soft, and I think he's now 53 kilos. He's going to take some beating, given how soft it was, isn't it?
There's not much around, is there? Yeah, he just landed in the right spot. And the other chances sort of, Coleman didn't finish the course, did it? It was a pretty hollow race. So, there's some better opposition on the radar, but a lot of them are tipped out now. Maybe it will thin right out. It doesn't look like it's going to be a super strong stratty. So, you'd love to have a few dollars on him at early odds for sure.
Yeah, it just does everything right, GK. He's one of yours. He's a map positive horse, puts himself in the race, and I'm struggling to see how he gets beaten at this stage, and hopefully the weekend provides some opposition for him.
Yeah, just airborne, really soft wind. Like it did have some favours, I thought, in the run, but you can't knock that performance. It's going to be interesting. I think a lot of those in the order of entry for the Stradbroke at the top of the weights probably aren't going to the Stradbroke. So I think he's deserved favourite right now, but I do think potentially the main opposition is going to come from these 3-year-olds. So, Bosusto's already in the field. It's going to get in super light. Then whatever wins the Fred Best on the weekend, that usually springboards them right to the top of the market and they get in, really light. So, there's a few in this race on the weekend that I think are definite threats to War Machine.
Yeah, that's something I spoke to GK off air about, and then I was sort of asking and sniffing around with you. Well, if you had Bosusto and there was other 3-year-olds that might be able to jam into the Stradbroke, why on earth wouldn't you put it in the 3-year-old race in the Fred Best and try and keep something out rather than what I guess the Annabelle and Archibald stable are doing with the Kingsford Smith? Like, why would you put Bosusto against the older?
I guess I think they're just straight up. Yeah, well, it is $8 in the Group 1, isn't it? So what does it do from win the other race? I don't know.
Well, James, it gives you a better chance in the strategy. Because
you throw away Group 1 to try and win a Group 1? I don't know. Jolly Stars on a weird setup. Giga kicks off cast. Benedetta just never wins. So, it's a pretty, even Private Eye first up. It's a nice race to be thrown into as a Group 1 as opposed to a Stradbroke sort of handicap, which is usually highly competitive. I'd be going to this race trying to win this race because it looks, if it repeats what it did at the Gold Coast, it'll probably win. So,
should we preview the Kingsford Smith?
No, well, I don't know why you'd avoid the Group 1, and whereas Angel Capital's probably as good as anything in that race if it's at its best too. So it's not as if it's about the same sort of level potentially, even though you're dodging it. It's a Group 1 weight for age race. So.
Yeah, I was sort of of the thought you'd try and jam out another.
I don't even think that'd be in their brains. I don't think that would even
go that deep.
Well, they got 693 horses, 12 stables, 444 staff members to look after. That probably is not in their calculations. Even though that I think Dan Cobby's at the helm now, and I think he's a brilliant man, but keeping horses out of the Stradbroke probably wasn't on his agenda.
Let's start the show. Let's get into the action for this weekend. We're going to do races 4 and 5, and then we'll do the quaddie leagues. So 6, 7, 8, 9. And first of all, weather warning. It's up to 11 mils on Friday. And just to give us a kick in the teeth, possible 20 mils on Saturday, GK. I'm saying it's maybe soft 7 to heavy 10, perhaps. How will it play? And give us your crystal ball on the track.
Look, I think probably 7 or 8 is likely. And then I think just usual Eagle Farm, especially with Rail True, that the inside will just be massively inferior. And as the day progresses, they're going to be coming down the middle. And I think that, what we've seen with Eagle Farm when it's rain affected, Rail True, is that inside barriers is a pretty big disadvantage, and outside barriers are no problem at all, especially from, the 1400 meter start. You've got 400 meters down the back straight to get in, to tuck in. So, there's horses drawn sort of barriers 15 to 20 in some of those races in the big fields. And, if we do get into that range, I'd actually be bonusing outside barriers. So, for me, generally, when we're in this sort of soft, heavy range, I want outside barriers, ability to get to the middle of the track. Like, that is absolutely essential. And if you're drawn low and you can't lead, that's a huge negative for me.
All right, so I might get a bit of a reverse there. And, yeah, it will be wet. So, I think talk of soft 5. It's already soft 5, so it's just going to deteriorate from here on in. So, let's have that in the back of our minds, and it might play okay for the first couple of races. But, who knows what we're dealing with by race 8 and 9. Could just be an absolute slugfest. Let's have a look at race 4. This is the first one I'm going to sink our teeth into. Tarvey Time, $2.60. New Endeavour, $4.60. Regal Asmon, $7. Banker's Choice, $7. Rising Pacific, $7. Brookhaven, $12. Osmo, $16. Jenny Lala, $17. And Mission Love, $67. I thought the key form race here was the Scone Cup, Tarvey Time and Grabini. You can see here, it was absolutely bolting Tarvey Time. We referenced that it was a heavy 8 the start prior, and then just that soft 5. It was probably more like a good 4 really on independent times. And there's Grabini sort of in behind him, but Much to my disgust, about 20 minutes ago, they've scratched Grabini, and I thought Grabini on a wetter deck might be able to turn the tables there with Tavi Time, and he's a really interesting character, Tavi Time. Once it gets past sort of a soft 6, he starts to become a query, and if by any chance it can be a 6, he might be good enough to win, and he's absolutely in the zone. But once you sort of get to 7, 8, 9, and 10, he becomes the lay, especially at the $2.60 price. And a couple of interesting horses here, like Rising Pacific is another one that likes bone dry ground, and then you've got Regal Asmon coming from dry Adelaide runs. New Endeavour looks like a good wet tracker, but he's dropping back in distance, I think, from Gosford Cup, 2,100 back to 1,800. If it's really wet, I guess he comes into it. And then Brookhaven was super, defeating Tenzing first up. So any improvement second up with him, he'll need a new rider because Schiller's been booked, and he's obviously had that neck injury yesterday. He's okay, but a little bit of improvement from Brookhaven perhaps. He's one that absolutely eats the mud. So tricky race, GK. Are you set the same way as me?
More or less. Very tricky race. Look, if it was a dry track, I think Tavi Time probably a moral, to be honest. But we're not going to get that. So, I was completely against Banker's Choice, looking at the setup here if we were going to be on a dry deck. But maybe getting to this sort of condition sort of brings it back into the race. Like, we're 6 weeks off coming out of 2,400 meter races. So, there's still going to be fitness there. I don't think I could take the price, though. Brookhaven is probably the one which I think its price is probably overs at the moment if we get into that, really soft and heavy range. But I just can't bet in this race at the moment. I need a lot more information.
Walt, Angle?
No, same as you. Actually, Scone is a fast 2, so even though they put up a 7, but that's pretty close for them at the moment. So, I sort of mirror your thoughts. I think New Endeavour's the only horse you could possibly back, and it doesn't really win out of turn. It's a bit of a weird one for Gay, even sort of ran up to him a couple of times last prep, but I think it's suited back to 1,800. Drawn perfectly to stalk and sit on speed and run well. And Brookhaven, like you guys said, is probably the value, but it's not a very inspirational race.
I don't mind the Banker's Choice Angle. Definitely 40 days off is no drama there, and gets a fair jockey upgrade as well. It's gone Stackhouse to B Shin. So maybe some value plays around Tavi Time, but definitely.
I think Shin's still probably 30-60 not to ride to, from what I've heard. 30-60 is a good number. That adds up to 90. It's close enough. Should be 10% of doubt in there. 30-70, 33-66.
He's got an exceptional book of rides, so there's going to be a lot of meat on the bone if he doesn't come up.
There's a few sharks circling the ride, so there's a chance he won't be there. And if he is there, I guess there's a doubt of whether he'll be at his absolute best, but hopefully he will be.
A lot of good jockeys in town, so I'm sure they're going to get some capable replacements. But there's no one riding as good as Shin at the moment. That's for sure. Let's have a look at race 5. It's the size produce. This is a 1,400 lead-up event for the JJ Atkins. Gallo Nero is the favourite here, $4.40. Aerodrome, $6. Beskar, $7. Grafter Burner, $7.50. Cool Archie, $10. Prince Tycoon, $12. United States, $14. Brave Design, $19. Navy Pilot, $19. Farnacle, $19 also. Let's have a look at a couple of the key lead-in races. And Aerodrome's the first one here, and this is that rain-affected Hawkesbury run. It was early in the day. You can sort of see him. I don't think he's absolutely loving this. Like, you can just sort of see him his back legs sort of go from behind him there, GK, but he still got the job done. It was a gritty win, I thought, and I would probably bonus it. What do you think?
Yeah, look, I thought it was a good win. I don't know what to make of that form behind it, so I don't really know what that is, but look, we've got the 1,400 meter box ticked. We've got soft track box ticked. And I think most importantly here, we've got a map positive horse. And a lot of these want to take a sit. And there's not a lot of tempo here. So, I could see Regan just sort of, once he gets the straight, heading to the middle. And, there's going to be a lot in behind it who are going to have to make up significant grounds on it in the straight. So, when I sort of combine all that together, and then if you look at how linked a lot of the other form is, I think Aerodrome's the starting point in the race for me. I personally have it favourite.
All right, let's have a look at the Spirit of Boom Classic, the 1200. And this is a real weird race. You've got Grafterburners first up in the orange. You've got Gallo Nero to his outside. He was sort of reverse part. You've got United States in the purple Coolmore colours sort of bobbing up and down. You've got Beskar in the wrong part of the track and the Jonathan Munn's red and white. Pardon me. And then you got Cool Archie, the hard fit horse in the green that just sort of runs through the brick wall late. High Barbie sort of there in the finish and sort of starting to make ground. I really don't know what to make of that form, Walt. Like, I'm probably forgiving of a horse like Beskar because that fence was just so off that day. Gallo Nero and Grafterburners, you can make a case for them. They went right back and were probably arguably the best runs in the race, especially with Grafterburners. First up, I thought he'd take a lot of improvement. So I was happy to put Cool Archie in the bin. And sort of the United States as well. I'm a little bit confused with that horse. He went so good behind that thing of Gerald's a couple of starts back, but it's just a little bit too average there first up for mine. And I started to look for some different form, and I even thought like Prince Tycoon, the horse that we discussed last time that came out and run in the Magic Millions 2-year-old. Like, I know Isti Star was sort of up on the speed, and if you treat this like a barrier trial, like, it was just impossible to make ground here, and you can sort of see him like all over the shop here. And this is a horse that we earmarked before this race as thinking that 1400 is going to be his go, and God, he was set a task, and I guess we got the lay right, but he looks like some sort of talent, this Prince Tycoon, and I'm a bit like GK. I know GK's sort of found it Aerodrome, but I was sort of looking for Prince Tycoon at maybe a change of tactics or something different now at the 1400 as a bit of a joker in the pack. But God, this confused the absolute life out of me. Well,
yeah, I think Gallo Nero is the best horse. Who rides it now is an interesting one. I don't know, has Tommy got a ride? Does he get back in the camp?
Perhaps.
No, he doesn't have a ride. He's probably the best horse in the starting point, I'd say. He was just given a barrier trial there, and I find it difficult to think anything in that race could turn the tables. And we're not really sold on Beskar, even though it was in the wrong part there. I actually think Farnicle should be favourite. It's $18. I think it'll roll forward. I thought it was really good first up, sort of got stuck in the wrong part, outside the leader chasing, and in a lot stronger race than what they're all coming through, I think. It's an interesting horse, Prince Tycoon. It's just whether that setup's right for this. And if it drew soft, where's it going to be from 14? It's a bit of a nightmare, but it's I don't like the Aerodrome form. I don't like that the second horse come out and got beat. It's a tricky horse, but $6 seems well found for me. So I don't know, sort of a bit like you went looking DF
for
and
different
thought
angles.
Farnicle was the one that could improve significantly. I think it sort of should be $5 or $6, not $18. So it's the only horse I could back at this stage, and I'd probably chop out Gallo Nero just because I think it's potentially well and truly the best 3-year-old up there, and could sort of put these away and start very short in a JJ Atkins. If it sort of continues to improve, I think it was just a complete barrier trial first up.
I think we're all getting the same sort of consensus, whether that Spirit of Boom Classic was a sort of a real race, given so many were, I guess, Grafterburners first up, and then Gallo Nero, the barrier trial. So we've all gone hunting different forms. So Aerodrome, DF, and then for me, Prince Tycoon, and you, Walt, Farnicle. So different angles of thinking there in a real tricky event. And again, bit of an asterisk there too, depending on how wet this deck is. So something to ponder, and probably lucky it's not a quaddie leg, because the race might blow people's heads off, that's for sure. Speaking of the quaddie, let's go into race 6, and this is the doozy with Pizzusto Scratch, as we mentioned before. Angel Capital, $3.20, $7.50 Just Party, barrier 17, which could be a positive, as GK alluded to before. Emirate is $9, Stay Focused, $9.50, Media World, $11, Boomtown Boss, $11, Raikkonen, $11, and then you got $16 Elmore Zillow, and then horses like Spicy Martini and Pisces rounding out the market. But the first thing I'm going to have a look at is the Angel Capital trial, and there is in the Yulong colours back along the inside fence on the poly, and a lot of horses were just forced to go on the poly with all the weather in Sydney, and he's an absolute rocket there. And for reference, you've got Jolie Star right down the outside as the widest, in beside Angel Capital and Yulong colours is Kona Sana. Interesting trial. Who's that Waller horse with the checkers and the purple?
No, I'm not sure. They go about 9 below though. So
Yeah.
they've just absolutely crawled. It's a dead set joker, but track gallop 740. So yeah, it's a bit of a mental conniption watching that trial and trying to work it out. There's this was it Kagulian or something's in that race? He's racing Saturday too. There's quite a number of horses that trialled in there that are racing Saturday. So I've watched it a few times and I just come out twitching, to be fair.
Yeah, the interesting thing with Angel Capital is Ben Mellum, stable rider for Clinton McDonald, gets the ride here in Angel Capital, but obviously the horse is now with Waller, so J-Mac misses out, so you can make of that what you will, and I'm sort of a little bit confused with it, but the other replays we're going to have a look at is Just Party in the pink, and it sort of is buried along the inside, and Media World is out in front. This is your backyard, Walt. What did you make of this?
Candlewick's in there as well, so Candlewick's sort of inside the leader now, Media World's in front. Just Party's trying to squeeze through now in the pink with the white cap, just gets out and charges late, so it was a certainly beat. But inside was no good. He kind of got to the right ground the last 50, 100 metres, whether you think that was okay or not, is probably a decision. But it definitely returned extremely well. It was gelded before this preparation and trialled up extremely well before that run. So I think you can sort of treat him as a new horse, and I think that form's well and truly strong enough for a race like this.
And then here's Raikkonen at Gosford, and he was pretty well back this day. GK, you got King of Russo in the turquoise, but here's Raikkonen in the white with the blue. Good old Bjorn. I thought this was a pretty dominant win, even though they didn't really break the clock, GK. He's an interesting horse. He's a big boy.
Yeah, look, I really like this thing. I just love the way he puts them away and then, just throttles down as we get to the line there. I think this thing has a lot of ability. Just what we've seen in terms of these runs, this prep from these horses and, Angel Capital being a run or two behind some of these. I just don't really want to take this price, Angel Capital, in this race. So, look, I've already taken a price on Just Party and Raikkonen. Really like both of them. I think they're both good bets in this race. Huge respect, Angel Capital, obviously in the quaddie, but I'm just prepared to let it beat me on Saturday at, around $3. Plenty of others of interest in this race that I'll be putting in my quaddie. Don't really know what to do with Emirate. You get J-Mac, you just forgive that run at the Gold Coast. Who knows where this horse is at? I'll be putting in El Mazzillo in the quaddie. I'll be putting Stay Focused in the quaddie. I'll be putting Boomtown Boss in my quaddie as well.
Yeah, I sort of line up on the same. Angel Capital probably is the only one outside of Raikkonen and Just Party that I'd want to add. So I'm going to go skinny quaddie here, and I think this is pretty obvious to me that they're the three horses that you need to be on in this race, especially with the wide barriers. Perhaps not a penalty there. What do you think, Walt?
Well, your decision is Angel Capital, yes or no, right? Because it's twos on chance if it's right. And its trials weren't great. The mucus thing, bit of a setback. Tricky, isn't it? So I agree. He's sort of hard to bet up on him. So he goes to the quaddie. That's it. I agree. Just Party's the right horse. Think it should be closer to favourite. And then how deep? I actually thought Raikkonen would be 20s, not 10s. So that was what threw me off. If it was 20s, I'd be backing it. 10s, I'm kind of thinking it's about right. Chadley from gate 18, what's he going to do? He landed in the perfect spot there at Gosford in a horrible race. But I did love the way he sort of got into third, fourth gear quickly and then was idled down late. He definitely had other gears to go to. Boomtown Boss, we talked about jockey changes. Holy cow. Shin on this one off old Scooby-Doo the last couple. So... It certainly goes in the quaddie. Media World is completely airborne and draws to have options to either sort of lead or take a sit if Stay Focused. Raikkonen have to push on from outside draws. So, it's hard to leave out. And even Candlewick just seems a big overreaction. Like it was beaten not far by Just Party, and Zach sort of got thrown the 3-card trick back to the inside and gobbled it up and stayed inside. So it was in the worst ground the whole way up the straight there at Hawkesbury, and he draws to sort of land in a potentially better spot here too. And even editing at 40 seems a big price. It certainly went well enough at the Gold Coast to say that it's probably got some upside. So I've just grade probably everyone up. It's a great watching race. I think if I had to bet, I do. You guys are saying I'd probably take on Angel Capital, Just Party my best way, and then probably sort of making Candlewick editing The big price horse is a winner as well. It's just it's a great race, plenty of different angles, and Raikkonen, if it comes out and wins this, it's probably a high level group horse in the making.
Yeah, I'd agree with most of those comments, and I was sort of trying really hard to find a horse like Editing, but
just price. That's the only reason, and even it's going to be back at a low gate. It's just one of those ones you can see Tommy sucking up and popping out and driving you mad if they go too quick or something. But I just wouldn't want it beating me.
Yeah, I might risk it and just go for the mental health explosion. My brain will just.
I'll enjoy it.
Yeah,
I actually hope. Yeah, that's good. I'm going to mark that down.
Make it your best
way.
way.
Circle it. No, just so that I can think of you when it pops through the gap at the 200 metre mark.
Yeah, it is a bit of a knockout. It's just so diabolical down the outside of that Gold Coast track, and it is something they're going to have to address because the last Friday's meeting was no good. Really bad. I like it. The tracks have copped a lot, and they've done really well up here with the amount of rain, but the Gold Coast track's got serious problems.
Oh, well, yeah, they just race on it too much, I think. I think they should bite the bullet and use the poly a bit more, right? For non-core meetings, it's probably for the first 3 or 4 years. Sometimes it takes that long for the tracks to bed in. Otherwise, you end up with a nightmare. We'll talk about it when we get to Sydney.
What?
No, I'll just talk about it when we get to Sydney. It's not important.
Can't wait. All right, I'll mark that down. Sydney, talk about tracks, just so I don't go over that. Yeah, some big track news in Sydney during the week. Okay, let's go. I'm not even going to ask GK about the Gold Coast track. I don't want to upset him yet. We'll save it for a little bit later. Eagle Farm, race 7, 1,300 metres. Jolly Star, Bareth 11, $2.90. Giga Kick $5.50. Benedetta $7.50. Private Eye $8.50. Bozosto $8.50. Kamachi $10. Rice of Dawn $17. Payline $19. Zarastro $27. Golden Mile $31. And Libertad 41 and Democracy Manifest I thought was an interesting first up.
Silly price.
Yeah, it looks like a crazy one at $41 placement here, but let's have a look at a couple of them. Private Eye's the first one. Notable wet tracker. There he is. He's in a different race. He's racing around the outside fence.
No blinkers on. It's interesting.
Yeah, he's a bomb wet tracker and he's just top grade here. There's nothing much in the trial, but I thought the work was good and he looks a definite X-Factor horse. And I tell you what, Nash Rawilla's also got an extremely strong book of rides. Giga Kick is the next one. And this is another trial, GK. Bit triggering for you. You got Reserve Bank, the winner in the line. But here's Giga Kick just struggling to get around the backside of Armenia. And he digs in well, but a lot of people are saying that Sir Sway beat him home, and that's not a good thing. GK.
The problem here is, look at that. There's 2 lengths between 6 of them at the furlong. Anyway, GK.
Yeah, it's like the Indians coming over the hill. GK?
Yeah, look, I understand some of those criticisms. I suppose you could say, look, it was off a long break, and I think Jamie Carr just pulled that one out of a clacker, to be honest. Sir Sway beat Giga Kick home, but it's obviously covered way more ground than the others. So I think you can be a little bit forgiving. And then now we get to a track where it's going to be seriously rain affected, which really brings Giga Kick into its element. And I also think that there's a chance that they maybe are a little bit more positive out of the gates here. There's not a lot of tempo in this race, and where Giga Kick is drawn, it could be, on my map at present, like I've got a bit of a question mark about where Private Eye and Giga are. Like one of them could potentially get to OSL, not OSL, but one out, one back, and one of them is probably on the back of the other one. So, they're going to be in a good spot, and they're going to have a pretty significant advantage over Jolly Star, who will obviously be coming down the outside. So, I haven't backed Giga. I've got Giga going in like a couple of multis, so this is the last leg. So I'll be cheering for Giga, and I've also backed Private Eye. I just think, if you look at their overall form, their performances, like there's not a lot of depth to this race. Like those two, as well as Jolly Star, like they really tower over the rest of this field in terms of their overall form profiles. So I just think Jolly Star's too short right now, with especially the weather that is forecast. Like, if we get into the 7, 8, 9 range, I couldn't be anywhere near Jolly Star at these prices. So look, I'm going to be pretty happy to play Giga and Private Eye, and depending on track condition, I might save Jolly.
Yeah, that's a big concern with me with Jolie Starr. We haven't got her the 1400 metre Group 1 where she got beaten by Jimmy Starr. I haven't got that replay, but I've got the replay of the Doom and 10,000, which is Sunshine in Paris. You got Payline out the back in the blue with the white, and he just if he had a Leapfrog Lady Laguna or just got round her bum, he probably wins the race. But Sunshine in Paris was just sort of in the right spot, and then J-Mac, as we mentioned last week, or GK reference, he just put Jamie Carr and Benedetta in a pocket there and just sort of outrode her and got the chocolate. So Benedetta and Payline are probably some of the best wet trackers in the race with Private Eye. Giga Kick's no slouch on the soft as well, but if he gets a little cuddle, Payline, and they go a little bit too slow, he doesn't mind it too wet. If it gets in the heavy sort of 8, 9 regions, Payline can cause a boil over here, and the odds have sort of been clipped already, 31 into $19. But Jolie Starr on the wet track is, big red alert for me, Walt.
Yeah.
What do you
Timmy's
think?
chasing that ride too because Rothfire's out now, so hopefully Timmy gets on Payline. It's just one of these tricky, bit like that race there that we just saw where Sunshine in Paris probably, so quick, they've tipped it straight out. So she's probably right at the end of a tether.
Mm-hmm.
And these horses, I can't say that Giga Kick's in career best form and Jolie Stars shines off her a little bit, and she's a very good horse, but she's not dominant. So she's a bit like, who's that camel of Pete Moody's that just kept starting?
I wish I win.
Yeah, it's a bit like that. Like it's just Anyway, so I don't know. Private Eyes to me scary. You just love to know how fit it was. I get the feeling it's probably ready to go. I'm looking around that 10-1 range to bet. Sort of is what I'm trying to say. Private Eye Komochi with a better draw is dangerous. Just poke right behind the speed here. You would think naturally and can run a tricky race. Old Bustustal, like as you said, talking about it winning Group 1s is pretty funny, but his last couple of he's hit the line, hasn't he? Even in New Zealand, he did a great job. So, is he going to be in the right place at the right time? You tell me that Payline's going to be a Group 1 winner, I'd give you the full KWT treatment. So, you bet it looks possible. And we're talking about Democracy Manifest potentially winning first up when it looks like it's probably going to have a barrier trial and probably could still win. So that's the sort of level that this Group 1 is. The more rain that comes, the more it becomes a totally different race, doesn't it? But I've just confused myself completely. But probably GK's probably right. Probably the two best wet trackers that are going to be in the right part of the track are Giga Kick and Private Eye. They're both set up to run well enough, so they're probably your starting point, I guess. Yeah,
and that was my query with. I thought Rise of Dawn just doesn't have the turn of foot of the other ones. Just trying to look for like
low
different
gate
angles.
Too. It's going to have to spin its wheels to get out of trouble. It's really tricky, that one.
And then Komochi has to be a pipe opener for the Stratty, doesn't it? And then the Tiara.
Well, yeah, and is it the same for Jolie Starr too? That's the thing. It's did they think this race would come up this week and they've got her ready to go, or have they got her sort of prepared for a Tiara as well? Have they backed right off of that? That's the thing, and you would think that it makes sense for Joe Pride to chase this race. I think that 1,300 first ups as far as probably Private Eye wants, but if he's given, I think he's had 3 trials. I did forget my sheet of paper. By the way, he'll if he's close to the mark, this is a sort of race that Joe could target because it makes sense. Whereas the mares have probably got a couple more races up their sleeve to push on to.
J-Mac said on the wireless that Jolie Star's almost going too well. Does that mean
they're probably backed off her completely,
and she's got away from him?
Yeah, maybe
Needs a run.
I would be. That wouldn't be a positive if I was hearing that. Yeah.
If it's going to absolutely hose down as well, I'll be betting with lots of confidence around Jolie Starr with that in mind, with what J-Mac said, and then the fact that she just doesn't motor as well as she does on the dry surface, top of the ground. All right. This is starting to become a bit of a juicy quaddie, hopefully. And let's have a look at the Group 1 Queensland Derby. And this is an absolute ball tearer as well. Let's have a look at who's favourite here. And it's Statuario at $5. You got Bell to Tell $7, King of Thunder $7.50, Feminel $8, just went through the sales for 1.5 million in the fillies and mares sale at the Goldie a couple of days ago. $8. Lavalier is $12. Party Crasher $13. Firm Agreement $14. Imperialist $17. Politely Done $21. Mason Louis $21. Chase Your Dreams $21. And then you got the Muffin Man, Deep Focus, Our Benefactor, Bo Dazzler around the sort of $26 mark, and then Scintillante $41. And much, much better the rest. Let's have a look at the Rough Habit Plate. It's a bit of a barrow trial and another one of those weird races. You got Imperialist out in front, and I think even Waller was shocked that he won this race, and he doesn't think this horse can run 24 down a well or 2400 down a well. The chasing brigade, you got Belle de Tell in the black and the red on the inside. You got King of Thunder in the blue and the white, and Deep Focus, who was 3 wide and probably in the best ground, even him sort of hitting the line. And you got Firm Agreement well back and really disappointing about 8 lengths and just really didn't finish off the race. So I thought that threw up more sort of questions rather than answers, that whole form race. But there's a couple that are probably doing the same thing, and this next one is the SA Oaks with Statuario and Feminel getting the grouse sort of like suck runs throughout the whole race. You got Lavalier with J Carr, and I think these two horses just sort of by default were sort of the last ones standing. Like, Statuario sort of comes on pretty well, but still couldn't run down the filly, and both of them just had dream runs in transit. You got Scintillante in there at the white and the pagan colours there. I thought that was a real funny 2,500 metre race that was perhaps a bit chinky, especially given they're just so hard in the market. The horse that sort of caught my eye was Politely Done. 2 starts back, he was sort of starting to take off ground behind Statuario at Caulfield over 2,400. And then you can see him here in the Danny O'Brien colours with the blue and the white checkers. He's absolutely bolting, and he only gets clear within the last sort of like 300 metres here. The key to this is also it's a soft 7, and he's gone back from 2,400 to 2,000 metres because I think he had his bloods weren't right, so he couldn't go over to the SA Derby. But not easy for a horse like this to do this. Held up the whole time, and I thought he showed a fair bit of dash there and just had panels on them. So if you had an extra 400 metres onto that race, I thought he's a crazy price at $21 each way. And the other horse, just to try and nail out another chance, was this Party Crasher, this Kiwi horse of Michael Hickmont's. The weird thing about this is the horse looks like he's got a pretty sharp turn of foot. They didn't go that far, but you got a horse like Lake's Folly in the white with the blue. He's an 8-year-old, sort of bit of a plonker, and I think the second horse there, something about his name's like a hero, named after some sort of song. Those 2 horses went and duked out a 2,500 metre race in Adelaide the next start, and then Lake's Folly turned the tables on There Goes My Hero behind this Party Crasher. But I can't believe Party Crasher's sort of $12 or $11, given how poor that form is over in Adelaide.
The replays from an Armidale benchmark 60, all of them. Some bloke on Twitter said this could be the best Queensland derby he's ever seen, and I just had to shut Twitter down for like a good 2 or 3 hours after that. Good luck, GK. We'll leave over to you.
Okay, well, I'll tell you exactly what I wrote on my notes, which is no idea. This isn't my type of race at all. 2,400 metres with no tempo on a wet track. Cool. This is the hardest race to sort of decipher I've ever seen. Like, I've just found this, just unbelievably complicated with all of the mingled form and everything. I'll just throw a few out that I'm going to put in my quaddie. I don't think I'm going to bet in the race except for the quaddie, but I thought Deep Focus was good there in the Rough Habit in that boat race. I thought Mason Louis was good on the inside, and there's even another form line I'll throw out there, which is from Ipswich, which is Existential Bob. So you can have that one as well. So, no idea is how I am approaching this race.
All right, yeah, well, I'm the opposite a little bit. I'm pretty bullish, Politely Done each way. I think the place price is just insanity. You're getting sort of $6 and $7 for the place for this horse, and I think the penny sort of just dropped. The wide barrier hopefully is not a worry. He's going to get back, sort of get himself into the race, in his own sort of time anyway. And I think if you go back 2 starts against Statuario, you can see on a bigger track, he probably turns the tables on the favourite. And I just
Very slowly run race that day. And Statuario had the best run you've ever seen.
Yeah, and I just can't believe that Statuario getting $5 the win, but then Politely Done, you're sort of getting $6 and $7 the play. So he doesn't even have to win. So you have something to win.
Why has it gone from 10 to 1 to 20? So was it barrier draw?
Well,
I don't know.
I chipped. I started chipping away at $17 and $15, and then I sort of thought 13 was probably a bit below me to take that. And then final field went up, and GK sent me a message. He said, "You wouldn't believe this. They've gone up $31." And I thought, oh well, they've put the number in the wrong way, $31 to $13. And I'm like, this is Christmas for me. So I started to reload the cannons, and I can't really have any more on. I'm sort of that far
Otherwise
committed.
You'd be a moron.
Oh, well, yeah, terrible. But Beldatel and Beau Dazzler are the other two that'll love the bottomless track. So if it gets really wet and if it's 8, 9, 10, Beldatel scares the life out of me, and so does Beau Dazzler. Both of those horses, like Politely Done, will all like to slog it out. But it's going to be a cracking race. It's going to be very funny.
That Imperialist race is just... I've watched it like 20 times. Imperialist was going backwards on the turn, and then it put 6 on them. That thing of Lambings went straight past it, then it just sort of went, oh, hang on, and then nothing ran on. It was like if the winner comes from that race, they should scratch this race from the record books. They should just take it out.
It was a heavy 8.
It doesn't. They don't deserve to have their name next to Yippee-I-O in the record books or any of those champions. I think sort of JK said, I agree with you. Politely Done. We talked about it. This is the only horse you could sort of find, and especially if it had a little setback going into that race, because it was a bit. They did go quick in that race. It was a wet track, so you think it'd run the distance. It was, if it's got a little bit of upside out of that, it's 23 bucks. It just doesn't make sense compared to the favourites. I agree. Existential Bob's, he probably got barbecued last start, and then the start before that, he had a few things against him, and he's put races away. Well, they've been terrible races, but as I said, we're talking about Armadale form here, and and then Maison Louis is an interesting horse. I think he's a miler, but maybe if they go so slow that he could outsprint them, it's not ridiculous. So, I sort of had those 3 horses written down as well. I think Statuario runs 2,400 an inch, so I'm not sure that wet ground would suit his style. And, I don't know what to do with Party Crasher and all of that. It's just a terrible race. But, I think I agree. Politely Done is the only horse I could back in the race.
I think Firm Agreement will be the defib job. Like if
you could
Annabelle
see it coming back and winning, right?
Well, it needs to be resuscitated because
it's the only horse out of that race. It got beat 8. Is it that I could see winning?
Well, Beldatel you couldn't you?
Oh, it went so bad, but I don't know. It's the same. It won an 1800, I think, when they went absolutely in reverse, and it's outsprinted them in the Oaks. It was, well beaten, but that form's probably good enough for this. So I could maybe see. I think it needs dry because I think it's a mad wet. I think it's a mad sprint. Like what are we talking about? Sprinter. Yeah, turn a foot horse. I don't think it's a grinder. So if it turns into a grind, I'd much rather be with your Melbourne whacker.
Beautiful. All right, bet up each way, Politely Done, and thank me next week, and I'll be praying. I'll have to snip you, I reckon, if it gets beat.
It's all right.
And GK.
That's all right. Yeah, we'll both go into GK, and then if GK lends us both, then I'll give you what he gives me.
Let's press on to the last leg of the quaddie, just because it's getting easier for us and it's getting wetter by this stage. I'm just picturing more rain falling. It'll just be Noah's Ark job by now. It's the Helen Coughlan. It's the Magic Millions Helen Coughlan, 1,200 metres. This is sort of a gateway to the Tats Tiara and a sort of a back door for any mares looking to run in the Stratty.
How many horses would you want to have live in the quaddie to feel comfortable that you've got the winner?
Field.
Half.
21 was my answer. Yeah, 21.
Please. Kin, $4.80. Comrade Rosa, $6.50. Floozy, $8. Tashi, $9.50. Curvolante, $13. Vienna Princess, $13. Infancy, $15. Zazu, $15. Fortunate Kiss, $16. Bubba's Bay, $17. Coco Jumbo, $20. Navy of the Highway, $20. Midnight in Tokyo, $21. Zoo Baby, $21. And then you got Terramata at $27. And that's who we're going to look at first, Terramata, in one of these funny little Poly 740 trials. There she's out in front. And, I can sort of see what you see here, GK, this horse sort of being in the right spot. And she sort of maybe trained off a little bit last prep, but early in the prep, she's dynamite and wet track, tick, tick, GK.
Yeah, absolutely. Like as soon as I saw the booking of Nash coming on and this barrier, like it actually just reminded me of this race last year where Chinny Boom was drawn barrier 19 and just zoomed out from the outside barrier, got to about OSL or maybe one out, one back, and just straight down the middle of the track with almost no chases. And like I just pictured that race last year, and I could just sort of spot Terramata or Nash trying to do something similar here. So, I just think this is a ridiculous price. First up, wet track here. I think it's a great bet. Terramata, I'm really happy to play at that price. But look, I'm going to be backing, I think, 3 or 4 in the race. That's just one of them.
Yeah, I think great odds. Auto bet job at $27. Got a bit of time for her. The next replay we'll have a look at here is Tashi, and City of Lights goes past to here. But gosh, Tashi was sort of jogging and then sort of hit a bit of a flat spot for 100 metres, and you thought, oh God, she's going to drop right out. And gee, she slugged it well to just keep going. You got Written Code down the outside who squealed it up at Scone like a little piglet, but Tashi showed a bit of fight here and a bit of ticker. What do you reckon of that?
They walked. It was very well suited, found the right part of the track, and probably that was its birthday, but I still think that form's good and I think the setup's good. It's, again, probably gets pretty much everything to suit except for the rider, and then gets a middle draw. So no knock from me. It's just a hard horse to catch these days.
This is an interesting one, the Archer with Comrade Rosa. I thought she went pretty good this day. She was sort of like back in the pack here. Lubrication just sort of jumped out of the ground. Transatlantic was in the race here. He went pretty good last start and was wide and sort of had no favours. So I think the form sort of stacks up okay, but I can't really explain how well sort of Lubrication went there. But I thought Comrade Rosa absolutely airborne. So I'm just saying that form's good enough for a sort of listed sort of mares race here. And I just like the fact that she's third up. My biggest query with Comrade Rosa is 650 is probably short enough. And then she's sort of a soft range horse, but once it gets to really heavy, I'm a little bit wary. But at 56.5 kilos, I thought at the weights, I thought she was really well in. But it's not overly excited with price and wet track. Thoughts? Well,
yeah, the favourites are all just too short. Kin, Falusi, Comrade Rosa, I thought they were all too short. They can win, but they're too short. Tashi, Curvalant's interesting back in trip. Whether, Shin's weird with this horse, whether maybe he needs 1,400. You can get this horse to bounce and sit right behind the speed, and you just, after 200 metres the race is over. And whether the horse is in that vein of form or not, but it's just sort of dropping back to this grade is absolutely ideal for this horse. It could bully these horses if it's at its peak. Whether it wants super soft track, not sure. Zazu's form's good for this. Infancy's form's good for this, but probably wants it dry. I think it'll win if it somehow ended up at 5 or something. I think Infancy will round them up. And then you get down to Vienna Princess, who's the best weighted horse off a long break, one of those Waller brain scratches that, you could look back at the race when it carves through them late and wins, and how to leave it out. So it's a bit of a nightmare of a creature too. And I agree, Terramata's the absolute auto bet in the race. Is there any horse I could have put lines through? There's a few, not many, but Floozy, like what? Jesus, it's like 8 kilos poorly in at the weights. It's a race you want to go looking to bet in, but it's again one of these. Probably need more information. Terramata's the one horse that you can have something on now, knowing that it sort of handles all conditions. You would say that nearly certainly this is a race that Jared Austin would have targeted on the way to, if it wins this, you'll probably just keep progressing forward. And he's a very, very good trainer, I promise you that. He's very underrated. These horses do always come up much better odds than they should for whatever reason. So databases sort of let him under their guard, but you know that Nash would have had a lot to do with this horse's preparation and getting it ready for this race too. So and the GK mentioned all that. So he's if everything plays out the way we're sort of saying, it's not bottomless, but it's sort of 6, 7, 8, and that middle to wide section's the place to be. I agree that it's the horse that goes around as your Hail Mary if you're under the pump, or if you're going for the kill. It's your standout leg to get the best result in the last.
All right, so all in agreement with best roughie in the race, Terramata, which is scary. So it'll be $27 into the teens, I would have thought. GK, can you throw out one or two other horses for the quaddie leg? I sort of echo John's thoughts with Infancy. It's a funny one. Floozy and Infancy are probably the best in-form horses, but they're not really weighted the best. They're weighted up to their best, aren't they?
Yeah, look, I've had something on Floozy at $8. I recognise the negatives here, but this mare is just absolutely airborne, and it's just so tactically versatile. Where if there is no tempo here, Ange can lead, or she can just sit one out, one back. Like, there's a lot of options here. So, I'm saving Floozy, but Terramata, I'm also having something on Tashi, which I can't believe I'm doing that again. And I'm also having something on Bubbles Bay as well. So, those four are all going around winners for me and all be in the quaddie, and then there'll be a few others. I think Kin and Comrade Rosa are ridiculous prices here. I think they're massive unders.
Kin was a real weird one. It looked like it was perfectly set up last time, and it got its head blown off by In Flight.
Yeah, it's In Flight. Yeah.
Yucky.
I agree.
Yeah, right in the bin. Hopefully we got some world toad action there, so it gets nice and short there, Kin. But not sure if that's the case either. But good way to end the quaddie with a couple of value bets in and around a couple of those shorties, or especially attacking Kin. All right, that's the wrap of the Eagle Farm meeting at Brizzy Form Guide. Is where you want to find GK, and you can jump in his Discord and talk all things Brisbane racing. So I couldn't recommend it highly enough. And it'll be great to be betting at Eagle Farm, and hopefully the weather isn't as diabolical as forecast. All right, Rosehill, it's drying ground, which is good there, and Hidden Achievement's a favourite, $2.80. Sarapo is $3.40. Zebra Finch $5. Namast is $7.50. Zutanium $8.50. 16 Wentworth Falls, and then Queen of Clubs $27, and then Swift Legend $46. Gonna have a look at this replay of the Gosford 2-year-old race here. In the Yulon colours, you got Hidden Achievement, and then Serapo is the widest, trying to run it down. But nice style of colt, this Hidden Achievement.
Yeah, so I can see why Serapo's fancied in this race, but I don't think either of them are probably suited to Gosford. But I definitely know this big boy wasn't, and I think Hippo sort of had to make a couple of moves there on the point of the turn to make sure he got out. That sort of kept him unbalanced and pushed the other horse off balance too. But I think even 1,300 of Saturday, it's 1,300, isn't it? Is probably a touch short. This horse could definitely go to the JJ Atkins off the back of this. I just can't understand. I just assumed it had come up $70, $80 and maybe drift to 220, something like that. I just thought 270, 280 was really attractive. I just thought, Namaste was pretty steady up in Brisbane. I think it's blinkers and a few other changes. It can improve, but it has to. Serapo, I think, has to improve. I think, who's the rider for Serapo?
Rory Hutchins.
Yeah, Rory's all right, but it's drawn wide, so it's probably going to, at best, either have to push forward and work or come from behind Hidden Achievement again. Zutanium, it was okay. But again, I just thought this horse has got more upside than all of them, and getting to what should be a fairish Rosehill track, 1,300. It's not the sort of 11 or 1,200 that become overly biased. You just could see him winding up here and just rounding him up. I just thought he should be closer to even money, and on a day that looks very tricky. He just sort of stood out as a horse that you'd be happy to throw into other horses during the day as sort of as a multi-builder at the start of the day. It looked like a good little target.
Yeah, as a type, I really like this horse. But yeah, the two Waller runners in the same race sort of got my head scratching. So
I think he still needs to win to make sure he gets into a JJ Atkins. I would have agreed a little bit more if I thought it was a little bit grey that he didn't need to sort of continue on an upward spiral to get into the race, and then they may sort of. And he's a hard horse to give a barrier trial to, big strong bugger, and I don't think sort of Hippo's the man to put on if you're doing that either. He's not one that rides for the stable that often, and he's got a few home from lately. So and Hippo's pretty hungry. I think he's a hungry Hippo.
I think if either of these horses, Serapo or Hidden Achievement, go up to the JJ Atkins, I'll scare the life out of the race. But he got bigger balls than me while betting into this one. GK, any thoughts these two?
Just that I thought Hidden Achievement. I remember watching that race, and yeah, I thought it was a really nice type. I just didn't know what the plan was. I wasn't expecting them to try to progress to the JJ from that. Like that's not really Waller's style in general. So if that's the plan, it's interesting, and I wonder if that's something that's kind of developed, since that last start, or maybe they just decided, depending on that last start, that was the way they were going to go. So, look, interesting. Looks really promising. So, yeah, very interested to see what happens in that race on Saturday.
I think that's probably why they keep him to Sydney, because I kind of agree with you. First prep Waller, it's not really his go. But if they sort of kept him in town, and if he sort of blew these horses' heads off, he might head up. Otherwise, yeah, I'm sure that he'd be happy to put him away and save him.
Outstanding. So easy one to follow there. Rosehill race 1 at number 1, Hidden Achievement. And that's a wrap from us. So in summary, best of the day up at Eagle Farm. Have you got a...
Yeah, Hidden Achievement. I think it'll run all the way to Eagle Farm and win.
Yep. GK, what was your best?
I'm not sure. Tough day. Oh, yeah, not sure at this stage. Yeah, I'll let you know and we can put it on the sheets.
Okay. All right.
Politely done. Terra Mata sort of looked like the big value, didn't they?
Two each way
They're the
bets.
ones. Yeah, they're probably the two best
Politely done.
bets.
Politely done. Terra Mata, pay line, place multi. It'll pay about 200 to 1. There you go. Get on that.
Sounds good.
There you go. Little Hey Mary team multi. Sounds like a good way to be. All right. Good luck, and we'll see you next week. And hopefully we get through this weather all good.